Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Door Media podcast. This is season 4, where we are talking about technology, software, and AI, and how it's reshaping the cleaning industry. Today's guest is someone who's helped thousands of service businesses hire smarter, build stronger teams, and create people systems that actually scale. Brandon Vaughn is the CEO of HireBus, a hiring platform built specifically for home service companies. It is designed to help owners get out of hiring hell and into predictable, repeatable recruiting systems. Brandon's not just solving a tech problem, he's tackling one of the biggest bottlenecks in the cleaning and service industry: finding and keeping great people. In this episode, we're going to dig into how the best companies are using automation and AI to build better teams, why hiring is a marketing funnel, and what it really takes to scale as a culture that lasts. Brandon, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you here.
What's up, Drew? Good to be here. Thanks for the intro. And they're in hiring hell. I like the way that sounds.
Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of alliteration, if I'm honest, and that was too good to pass up.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do feel that way, and like they are stuck in this hamster wheel of just not being able to hire people. Oh, I hired people. Oh, these are not the right people. Oh, now they quit. You know what I mean? It's like this secular pattern that people get stuck in, and it's not a fun one. So I think hiring hell works well.
I heard someone say that, this would be the perfect business if it wasn't for customers and employees. I'm like,
Well, people,
wait,
human
hold
beings.
on. That means like everybody. But
Yeah.
yeah, we don't sell cleaning supplies and cleaning equipment. It's the people that go deliver those services. And I think a lot of people focus on the external customers. How do I get new customers coming in my business, and not as much about the internal customer experience, what that looks like for the employees themselves.
100%. Yeah. So happy to have you here. I think we're having a really good conversation.
Same.
So like I like to say, let's set the scene. Tech and the people problem, I'm calling this. HireBus is tackling, I think, one of the hardest parts about running a cleaning company: hiring and retention. Over the past year, how are you seeing companies shift their mindset when it comes to the mix of technology and hiring?
Wow. I'd say the biggest thing that I've seen is that the landscape of the talent wars has changed dramatically on both sides. Not only do you have these big companies like Amazon that are employing very hardcore AI driven recruiting strategies using technology, spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on these very advanced hiring platforms that are taking away out of your talent pool. But you also are competing against the gig economy. If someone can go out and they can drive for Uber or Uber Eats or go deliver for Amazon and click on off whenever they want and go out and make, $20 an hour, $25 an hour plus, it's really hard to kind of compete in that landscape. It's also difficult to be involved in that as a laborer, those types of industries. But people don't understand that, okay, yeah, when I go drive for Amazon and I go do these types of gigs, I'm paying all of my fuel expenses and my travel time is not really counted. So apples to apples, they're not making nearly as much as they could be making or have the stability of what it would be like working for a small cleaning company. So the people that are really winning the war for talent are doing two things. One, they're leveraging technology to be able to get their name out there, because the reality is that there's people out there that want to work for your business. They view you as a sexy opportunity. They would actually get a tremendous amount of satisfaction of just going and cleaning things day in and day out. Like they're your exact target demographic, but they just don't know that you exist. And that's really because it's a marketing problem to solve. And then the other side of the equation is that now there's these AI powered tools for candidates where they can apply to 300 different jobs with one click. And then it gets really messy trying to get, in touch with these people. So you have to have the edge for sure.
I love that. Yeah. And you're so right about that gig economy. That is just an incoming problem that nobody really saw coming, but I think the biggest thing what you mentioned is, for people, it's time freedom,
Yeah.
right? They think like, oh, I'm going to be my own boss,
Right.
delivering Taco Bell at 2 a.m. where that's where people are ordering it, right?
Yeah.
But it's just another challenge for people to, overcome and try to convince them, like, no, being an employee, cleaning, which is, for a lot of people, it's not the sexiest of jobs. It's just another hurdle they got to get over to convince people about it. Do you think the industry, and this would be home service or cleaning specifically, do you see them finally waking up to the idea that maybe hiring is not just an HR task, but a full-blown system that can be built and optimized and, looked at as maybe like another task inside of a business, like maybe the finances or fulfillment and services as a whole?
Man, I hope so. I'd say that the biggest wake up that I would love for business owners to have is not that hiring is an HR problem to solve, it's a marketing problem to solve. And a lot of people don't view it like a marketing challenge, but what's tougher sell? Convincing a homeowner to hire you to clean their house, which is dirty. And you have marketing videos, you have brochures, you have ads, you have spend behind it versus convincing another human being to spend more of their waking hours working for you inside of your company than they even do at home with their own families. And to do that for years, by the way, like pick this as a career path and then do it with you for a long time. That's a really tough freaking sell. But the amount of energy and effort in thinking through what is our messaging to these people, how, it's not just like, oh, we're trying to convince them. It's like you're really marketing and your message has to resound with your target person. So when they read that message, they're like, that is exactly the kind of job that I want. That sounds perfect for me. And they're out there, but again, they just don't know that, the companies exist. Your company exists. And that's the ultimate challenge to be able to solve is that it's a marketing problem. Fortunately, we know how to do marketing. It's just applying the same principles.
Super interesting. I love that comparison too. I mean, eh, easily the other side of that coin, just talk about marketing for the company, like for new business.
Yeah.
You could have the best service in the world. You could have the best systems that make it easy for people to spend money with you. But if nobody knows you're there, it's not going to work, right? You could have the best perks, you could have the best benefits, the best pay. But if nobody knows that, they don't even know to apply to your business. Um, I think this conversation is cool to be having with you because I think you've worked with a huge range of service companies. Obviously, quite a bit in the cleaning industry too. But what are some of the best operators doing differently, in your opinion, when it comes to attracting, qualifying, and retaining client? What are some things that they're doing that other people aren't?
I'd say in no particular importance from like number one down, these aren't necessarily ranked, but the first thing that came to mind is having a really good understanding of what their unique selling proposition is as a business. Like they know the answer to why would somebody want to work for me? And they've thought through for their target demographic of employee, what kind of core values do I want this person to have? What kind of core values do we have? What is the opportunity that people have here? The person who absolutely would love working here, what would they say to someone else who's considering working here? And they have really good careers videos that highlight that and talk about that.
Mm.
One of the careers videos that we made for our company for Wise Coatings, we just took all of our employees into the warehouse, turned off all the lights, put some dramatic lighting up, and just asked them questions. Hey, what do you love, best about this job? Tell me about the worst job that you ever had. Why did you hate it? What was the parts that, really frustrated you about it? What are the parts you love about this job? What do you think about your coworkers? What is it about the work itself that's very satisfying for you? And you get all these amazing sound clips and these sound bites that in your recruiting videos, your hiring videos, your career videos, those speak to that target individual that would love working for you in your company. And they get to hear it not just from you, they get to hear it from their future coworkers. It's like, hey, hear what your future coworkers would have to say, about what it's like to work here. So the top companies, they do that. And they also think through how can I have performance pay implemented into my companies so that I can actually pay well and not just have it be a commoditized, we pay X amount per hour. And, think through how they can make more money, build a career, have a little bit of ownership over their own routes and the things that they do. And they think about the customer experience, but not in the sense of their external customer, the homeowner, but their internal customer, their employee.
Love that. So that covers a lot of the attracting, right?
Yep.
It's telling the story, what makes you different. You really paint the picture of what it would be like for them to work there. What happens next? When in like the qualifying and retaining talent? I think a lot of retainment actually happens during that attracting phase as well.
Yep.
But tell me more about how are you seeing people qualifying that talent with your work in HireBus?
So one of the things that we like to do is, we like to be able to have the that 8 a.m. moment is what I like to call it. When an employee shows up at 8 a.m. on their first day, what are they doing? What are they doing at 9 o'clock a.m., then at 10 o'clock, then at 11 o'clock? What does their first week look like? Has it been really, dialed in so that they have a very clear onboarding process? Do you have training videos? How are you setting them up to have a good deal of confidence that they can do this job and they can do it really well? What are their early wins that they can get within the first couple of days of working there? Are you welcoming them with their name on your big flat screen TV when they walk in for their first day? Welcome
Yeah.
Drew, to the team. Do you have your employees sign digital cards that welcome them in? Do you have videos that talk about your company culture and what it's like, and what it is you're building, and how work, give back to the community where they can have an impact? That experience of when they come on board is really, really critical. Having written job descriptions so they know exactly what's expected of them, what their daily tasks, their weekly tasks look like, a good CRM so that they can keep good organized track of the work that they're doing, check the boxes off as they go. That's very important for
Yeah.
people in the cleaning industry, to have that satisfaction. And people will oftentimes quit when they like, I suck at this. I'm not very good. I'm not meeting expectations. I keep disappointing my boss. I don't feel good at this. They'll quit and they'll turn over, not necessarily because it's not good work for them. It's just because they're not being trained to be able to be successful. So I think that's a big key towards retention, is making sure people understand clear expectations of what's expected for them.
I love that. So that's what the best companies are doing, or the best operators in the cleaning industry.
Yep.
Let's flip that coin. Where do you see most cleaning business owners getting stuck in this hiring process? And have you seen any like simple systems that you have seen people use to flip that around?
I'd say that the biggest challenges that people have is hiring from a place of desperation. You wouldn't wait until you have no work on the schedule tomorrow to start thinking about marketing. Why do you wait until you have no employees tomorrow before you run job ads? You wait for someone to quit, and then you're like, hey, we need to spin up ads and we got to get someone, we got to hire them right now. And you're only selecting like a pretty small percentage of the population that are actively looking for a job at that specific point in
Yeah,
time. And so it's really, really hard to be able to pick someone that works really well. And that place of desperation you're looking to hire, you typically hire someone with a pulse. You overlook some red flags because you're just losing money, or you're back out in the field and you're having to take care of this stuff. So
sure.
the best operators, they build a hiring system that does this 24/7, 365 days a year. They never turn their ads off. They're always interviewing, they're always hiring. And that's why we built HireBus, is because our AI agent Iris does that 24/7. She posts job ads, interviews candidates, and puts them on a waiting list. So at any point in time when you need talent on demand, you can have Iris send out a blast to your waiting list, and then, open up positions for people to hop in to your calendar for final interviews. So it's been kind of a game changer in the cleaning industry from that perspective.
I love it. Very cool. Well, let's talk inside HireBus. Let's step into the bus, one could say. I think one of the cool things that HireBus does for people in this hiring world through the software you provide, it helps, bring chaos to clarity. And I think HireBus has grown quickly because of this. What's one way you've seen owners using your platform that maybe has surprised you, or went way beyond just posting a job ad? Like what I like asking in this season specifically, like what are some ways you've seen people use the platform and software that you weren't even like, wait, that's a great idea? Like, what have you been surprised by?
Oh man, I would say probably the thing that surprised me the most is especially the new platform that we just launched and we just released, how fast and how much volume people come in through the pipelines and the platforms. But some of the ones that really surprised me was some of the different industries that I would not expect HireBus to work really great for, working really great. Law enforcement recruiting was one. I'm like,
Interesting.
really, that one? But they look for behavioral profiles of people, and our behavioral assessment that we give every single candidate, like that's a big part of
Yeah.
that side of it. Uh, and then honestly, I'd say that one thing that surprised us is with Iris, we don't really pre-program her specifically what questions to ask. We just give her objectives on try to find out if someone will be a good fit or not. And these are their guidelines, and these are what the hard requirements are of the job. So she started asking sales scenario questions, like role playing questions to
Mm,
candidates of what would you do in a scenario like this? Let's say that you're talking to a homeowner and this is the objection they give. Like, how would you overcome that objection? And there's a couple of things that have kind of delighted us from just how she analyzes the resumes, look at their behavioral scores, looks at at their application, looks at their behavioral assessment, and then custom picks what questions. So it's like every interview that we kind of go into. I mean, you can have her ask specific questions every time, but it still is kind of cool to see some of those neat interview questions where you get some really, really juicy answers out. So that's
sure.
been pretty cool to see too.
I love that. Very cool. So speaking of AI, um, actually not yet. I don't want to go to AI yet. I was going to transition there and I changed my mind. I want to talk more about just the inside HireBus in general. Is there a feature or a automation inside of HireBus that has become like mission critical for your users as they're trying to grow their staff?
Uh, KPIs, is that what you said specifically?
Just any sort of like feature or automation inside of the software, like that has become mission critical for people.
The biggest one has been speed to lead. So
Mm.
when you have some,
Speaking my language, Brandon.
yeah, baby, speed to lead. When you have a candidate that comes in to Indeed, let's say, so you have average business owner post a job ad on Indeed, and then they go in and they log in 2 days later, and they have 34 candidates that are there, and you have to like read their resumes. You have to figure out who you want to talk to, and they're just names with a resume that 70% of the people have either exaggerated something or lied on it or something.
Yeah.
And then you have to reach out, call them, talk to them, interview them, judge them based upon their resume, which is usually not good. The coolest thing has just been how from the second someone submits an application on a job board, they're filling out their application, they're uploading their resume, and they're taking a behavioral assessment, and they're being interviewed by Iris within minutes. Like it's all one continuous flow on the screen. So
Yeah.
like they click on it and instantly they're getting text emailed like, hey, this is the next step. And then from the time they apply, they've already done an interview with Iris within 15 minutes. And then there's a score to the business owner that can prioritize auto scheduling onto their calendar for the top performing people, or you can have a review stage where you kind of check them out first.
Yeah.
But I'd say that that's been the biggest system improvement. Is normally what was happening is it was taking business owners days, sometimes even a week plus, to be able to get back to these candidates, and then they're just never able to get
Yeah.
in touch with them. So we've seen a dramatic,
Especially with the bulk hiring that you were talking about earlier
yes,
too. Like the same way some people fill out Facebook ad forms and wait, I never filled out a form. They're gone, right? Like if you don't contact them quickly, they're like, I don't even know what ad you're talking about because people move on so quickly. Same thing in the hiring process.
yeah,
If you're applying for 300 jobs and you hear back from one like, I don't know who you're talking about. Did I apply for that job? I didn't even know.
right, yep, exactly. So that I'd say has been probably the biggest improvement that people are like, I didn't even realize how much that mattered. And even myself, I knew that speed to lead was really important, but all these marketing principles that apply for Facebook ads, Angie leads, Thumbtack
Yeah,
leads, like all of it applies to the candidate experience. It's all marketing.
I love it. Cool. All right, now we can talk about AI. I wanted to get that question out first. So obviously, everyone's talking about AI. I don't think I've had a work conversation in the last 6 months where it didn't get brought up in some sort of fashion. But when it comes to hiring, I don't think anybody is fully clear yet on where AI fits.
Hmm.
And I know you're using it a lot inside of HireBus, but at the same time, there's this line people are still walking with any sort of like human resource not being human,
Yeah.
being AI led.
Yeah.
I think people are nervous about what that could look like. What is actually useful right now when it comes to AI in recruiting or even onboarding, or like those steps you're taking for retention as they actually are started? What are you seeing that's useful in the AI world? All the the clients and customers you have at HireBus that you're seeing people use it for. How's AI fitting into that world?
Well, if you think about it, like AI itself is not that great. You plus AI equals something amazing. Context, background, creativity, like all of that is actually the real secret sauce. Like that,
Mm,
none of that's changed. And the part where AI becomes stupid and impersonal and not that impressive is when people talk to and use AI without any context or explanation or even a clear vision of what it is exactly that they want. A perfect example is give me 10 interview questions to ask a person that's coming in for a house cleaner, like interview.
mm.
The interview questions you're going to get are going to be pretty generic, not going to be
Yeah,
interesting. But if you say, here's our core values, here's like a 10-page long document on exactly who we are, what matters to us, what makes us different. Here's our USP. Here's our geographic area where we are. And we want someone that exemplifies these core values. And these are the behavioral profiles of every single person inside of our company. And here's the most
yeah,
successful people that we have. And here's how they think. And here's what their interviews look like. And here's what the transcripts were. And here's what I look for in a person. And here's my behavioral profile. And here's where we're looking to go. And here's where we want to be. And you like load all that in. And then you say, give me 10 interview questions. The quality of those interview questions, the intent behind them is going to be, 10 times, 100 times better. Now, nothing's changed. You're still using AI as a tool, but the one thing that has specifically changed is that human creativity part to be able to prompt and architect a vision for what you want AI to do for you. And this is kind of the cool thing that we've done with HireBus is we have all that information that's loaded in as context about a business owner. We ask lots of detailed interview questions before we even begin writing job ads
mm,
or
yeah,
role blueprints. And I'll show you like one area specifically on the maid service side that we use AI for a lot is creating role blueprints for which are basically like job descriptions for people in the cleaning industries. What does an operations manager look like? What should they be doing? And if you load in
sure,
all the best practices of some of the best companies that are out there and how they have their orgs laid out, and the caliber of the role blueprints you get are way 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 better as opposed to just, hey, give me a job description for a house cleaner. Like you're going to get pretty lackluster results. So a lot of things it can do for you. You just have to be intentional about how you ask.
I love that. Very cool. Are there any, I mean, speaking of just trends and tools, which AI definitely fits into like that bucket, are there any trends or tools on your radar that you think could fundamentally change how cleaning companies build and are managing their teams over like the next 1 to 3 years? AI could be involved in that, but what are some tools and trends that you're seeing?
Yes, I think that. the new demographic of people that are going to be homeowners and going to be running their lives, they're missing a lot of critical skills of being able to know how to do those things themselves. And they also want instant gratification. So I think any tool that removes friction, that makes it very easy and very painless, and is just make you're more like a professional recommender. Like you're kind of prescribing what someone needs to do rather than providing them too many options and too many different variables. People don't know what they want, especially now. They need to be told
Yeah.
what they want. And when you look at like the behavioral profiles, DISC, like the DISC scores,
Yeah.
the majority of people actually are in the S category. And those people need to be told what to do. And it's like, hey, this is what you need. This is what I would do. Even if you don't use us, you have to make sure that you do this, but this is what you need to do. And this is how you can do it. And here's your price. And people are like, okay, sounds good. Like, take away the pain. That was so easy. It was like, taking
Yeah.
an easy button. And I think where AI is going to come in pretty well with that is the ability to be able to provide those recommendations, provide that seamless experience. I think it's going to become extremely common where people are not talking to people anymore. Their AI agents are talking to other AI agents to book their lives. And it's also going to be them calling and talking to AI agents anytime they want, 2 a.m. on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And they're getting their needs taken care of, and it's automatically being like done for them. I think that's technology is just going to get more frictionless moving forward.
I love that.
And I think
Let's.
like
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
ChatGPT, and all these other AI LLMs integrating more deeply and keeping a very close eye on what they're doing and how they're recommending companies and how you can register and get in their citations list and build out. They're going to start rolling out more like advertise your business on ChatGPT type of a thing, where it's
100%.
less about SEO and more about, paid channels and building out profiles. And so being on that front, that forefront there and thinking about how you can be recommended is going to be critical.
For sure. Yeah. All right, let's switch to the leadership lens in the technology world and the software world that you're in. And I think you sit in an interesting seat because you've not just been a leader and a CEO in the tech industry, you've also been a leader and a CEO in the service industry. So you've seen both sides of that, which I actually think is pretty common. Maybe not common, but I can think of a few people that have done both as well, and that's why their softwares are so good because they've experienced the other side of it as well.
Yeah.
Um, but you often talk about, I've heard you speak on this before, leading people before you need them. Um, what's the connection between leadership and technology and hiring systems? How does a leader show up in these processes? How does a leader show up in just technology being used in their organization as a whole? Um, yeah, speak on that.
I think that people fall into a trap of delegation by abdication. I'm not good at technology. Therefore, I'm going to hire someone that is good at technology, and they're going to come in and they're going to build everything out for me. And I don't know exactly how my business works. I don't really know exactly what my customer experience is. I don't really quite know exactly how our tech stack works, how our reporting works, how our accountability systems work, how our dashboards work. I don't know exactly what our cost per lead is and our customer acquisition cost because it's all technology and it's reports. And like, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. Like, wrong. The most important role I feel like a CEO, a founder should have as the visionary is how do we use technology and what technologies and what our tech stack should look like in our business so that we
Sure.
can have up to date, accurate reports. Now, maybe you don't have to go in and know all the detailed nuances of it, but you have to know enough to be able to hold your team highly accountable so that you can ensure that the data that you look at as an executive, as a CEO, is accurate and it's clean. So for me, one of the biggest practical steps that I recommend people do is to assign someone on their team to audit every single estimate, lead, job, every day at the end of the day, making sure that their CRM is like exactly up to date and all of the lead sources are plugged in. All of your start time and end times are put in exactly right. You have all the tick boxes and all the checklists and everything done. Like it's just such a small, simple task that even a VA can go and do. And that's their full-time job, is just making sure that like all your data, all your technology is clean. Because as a CEO, one of the most important things that you're charged with is being able to make big executive decisions. And if you do not have good executive reporting because your technology has not really been thought out, your tech stack has not been thought out very well, you're going to struggle to make good decisions. You're going to struggle to set that vision. So I think it's especially important to, even if you're not the one executing on all those, you're communicating the vision of what that needs to look like for your teams, so that that data is, really, really dialed in, whether it's recruiting, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's your deliverables, and doing job costing and finding out how profitable your routes are and how much revenue per hour each of your cleaning technicians make. All that stuff is really critical.
Love that. How do you see business owners, or how can, I guess, business owners shift from reactive recruiting to building a company that people want to stay with using these new technology tools? And like, how do those tools play a role in that?
The simple answer: go to hirebus.com and book your demo today. No, but seriously though, like this is one thing that I have obsessed with over for the last 2 years, is solving this problem of proactive versus reactive recruiting.
Mm,
I mean, to know that you have someone full time on your team that's just doing nothing but taking interviews for you 24/7, 365 days a year, and building a waiting list for you, even
yeah.
when you're full, even when you're like, I don't need any more cleaners, like you're building a bench, you're building a roster, so that when the time is to add another vehicle or top grading is really, really important in your business. That means
Yep.
eliminating your bottom performers and replacing them with top performers. If people will put up for cancer for too long. They'll put up with low performers for too long because it's just so much work to go out and find someone to replace them and train them. Not if you're doing it all the time. And it's not as big of a budget as you think when you do fall into proactive mode, because you don't have to pay the, couple $1,000 a month to be able to boost ads to try to get the people filled. Like you can get into a nice settled smaller amount. Uh, but that, I mean, genuinely give HireBus a shot if you haven't had an opportunity to at least take a look at the demo. And if you want, I can even kind of share my screen and just show like an example account of kind of what that looks like, to give people an idea. But it does make a big difference getting that dialed in.
Love that. Very cool. All right, I like to end these episodes with something I call like an elevator speech.
Okay.
Um, and let's say you are stuck in an elevator and you've got 60 seconds until you're at your floor. You're stuck in an elevator with a cleaning company owner that says, I just post on Facebook when I need to hire somebody, or like I don't need to really like rely on technology too much to keep, my staff engaged, or to keep new applicants coming in 60 seconds or less. How would you convince them that they need a real recruiting system that uses technology, uses AI, and why all those things matter, so they can grow beyond that hiring grind, or as we said earlier, the hiring hell hamster wheel?
Usually I ask questions. I typically don't just spout out my elevator pitch is always just asking questions. And
Yeah.
the questions that I usually ask is, you know, um, do you have any struggles with people on your team right now where you just wish they could perform better? How much do you think that that's costing you every single month? What are your top performers making? What are your lowest performers making? What would your business look like if every one of your lowest performers performed like your top performers? And then they start to realize, holy crap, I could literally add, you know, $20,000 a month to my top line revenue if I had good performers. And I didn't have to deal with fix-its and callbacks and issues and no call, no shows. And my turnover rate, like average cost of a turnover of an employee is, $20,000 annually in lost production, retraining, impact to your culture and morale, advertising. If you put the power of control back in your own hands of being able to fire somebody and for your people on your team to know that if they don't meet the benchmark of a high performing team, you will bring someone else in. And they see this, there's always people coming in and interviewing, and this is a high demand in, desirable job and position. You'll notice the
Mhm.
performance of your company change. And when that happens, it's not like you have employees that look at you say, well, what are you going to do? Fire me? Like they they realize that they have to stay it in because this is not like a bottom of the barrel, type of
Yeah.
job. Like this is a desirable position, and we have people coming in all the time that want to be hired. So it's really just putting that power dynamic back in the business owner's hands and not being made to feel like they're just being held hostage by their employees.
Love it. Very cool. Hey, man, thanks for being a part of this conversation. I think we did what I wanted to do was to talk about that beautiful mix of hiring strategy and technology. Because a lot of times there's a lot of confusion in both of those separately. And I think there's a really good way where both of those could be combined to help solve a lot of problems with cleaning business owners. So I appreciate you being up here, being a part of that conversation. Before we wrap up, what's the best place for listeners to connect with you or learn more about HireBus?
So one of the things I'd love to give every one of your listeners is just free resources. We like to lead with a bunch of value. So if they go to hirebus.com/5door, so just spelled out 5door, and there'll be a little form on there that you can click on, and there's a couple things that we'll do, and one of them will be getting you role blueprints for every single position in a $20 million residential cleaning business. And if you have a janitorial business, we do that as well. You'll be able to select a little drop down there. And those are very, very valuable and helpful to be able to see. We also have other resources that we love sharing with people that just help them, like how to write better job ads. Even doing a
Mm.
small pass like that can get you better quality candidates. And then if you're interested in booking a recruiting strategy session, you can do that on the second page as well. And we can hop on and show you Iris and show you how bringing her into your team full time can help kind of put that power back in your own control. So love to have them check that out.
How'd you come up with the name Iris?
Uh, Lots of focus grouping and thinking through. Hire with Iris sounded pretty good. Iris kind of rhymes with HireBus. Iris is kind of like eyeballs and insights. And then Iris has kind of like this bluish orb that kind of pulses and moves around and kind of looks like an eye.
Got
So,
it.
yeah, I would say
So like a nice Saruman from Lord of the Rings, like a more welcoming eye, you know?
very much so. It peers into the soul of the candidates, but in a very nice, gentle way where they're
Yeah, and like a nice way that, come work with me. It's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Sweet. Thank you for that. And thank you for those resources. Yeah. So make sure you go to hirebus.com/5door, and you'll get those free resources that he mentioned. So if you are listening and you're a cleaning business owner, if you're stuck in this hiring and technology hamster wheel of hell that we've described today, you probably know somebody else that is as well. So make sure to share this episode with a fellow cleaning business owner who also needs a system, not just another job post, and show them how technology and hiring can be combined with a tool like HireBus with Brandon. And hopefully you can add some value to their life too. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of the Five Door Media podcast. Thank you for watching this whole season of season 4. This has been a great season so far. Excited for season 5 coming up as well. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.